All right, let's just jump right in. Have you ever gotten a raise, looked at your bank account a few months later, and wondered, where did it all go? Why is it that the more money some of us make, the more stressed out we feel? It's this weird paradox that traps so many people. But here's the secret. The answer has almost nothing to do with how big your paycheck is.
To really get this, let's look at two people. First, meet Marcus. He's pulling in $155,000 a year. Solid income, right? But he is constantly stressed, has basically nothing saved, and is carrying almost $5,000 in credit card debt. Now over here, we have Dana. She makes less than half of what Marcus does. But she's calm, she has a 6-month emergency fund ready to go, and a net worth of $167,000. So let's be clear, he earns double, but she is literally 14 times wealthier.
So this is the real question, isn't it? What does Dana know that Marcus doesn't? Because it's not about being smarter or working harder. It's about a handful of simple rules that create a massive gap between people who feel financially secure and those who feel like they're always just one step behind. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack.
First, we have to understand the trap. And it's a trap so many of us fall into without even realizing it. It's a kind of prison built out of what we all think is normal financial behavior. But these days, normal just means feeling stuck.
I mean, look how fast a great income can just vanish. Take the Garcias. With a household income of $139,000. On paper, they should be flying high. But look at this. Once you subtract housing, cars, and all the other fixed bills, nearly 3/4 of their money is gone before they've even thought about dinner or a movie. That leaves them with a razor-thin margin for, savings, investing, or just breathing.
And lest you think this is just a middle-class thing, get this. A full third, 1 out of every 3 households making over $250,000 a year says they're living paycheck to paycheck. That's just wild. This was never a math problem. It's a mindset problem. The income was never the issue. It was always about the rules they were playing by.
And here's the first invisible enemy we're all fighting, lifestyle creep. You know what I'm talking about. It's that thing where you get a raise, and suddenly that nice restaurant you went to for your anniversary is now just where you go on a Tuesday. The new, higher standard of living becomes the baseline almost overnight, and you end up feeling exactly the same, just running on a much more expensive treadmill.
Okay, so how do you get off that treadmill? How do you escape the trap? Well, you don't just wing it. You need a blueprint, a totally new set of rules that completely redesigns your entire financial life.
And it really comes down to these 3 core ideas. First, you have to decide what enough actually means to you. You set a finish line for your lifestyle so it stops growing automatically. Second, and this is a big one, you have to learn to see the hidden price tag on everything you buy. And third, you build a system that runs on autopilot. Because let's be honest, willpower is a terrible financial plan.
This quote right here, this is the key to that second pillar. Every single dollar you spend has an invisible cost. It's the ghost of its future self, what it could have grown into if you just invested it. We call it opportunity cost, and it is almost always bigger than the price you see on the tag.
Let me show you how insane this is. Let's say you have a $600 a month food delivery habit. It feels manageable, right? It's just dinner. But the second price tag, the actual cost over 30 years in lost investment growth, is over $700,000. That is the true price of convenience. Now, this doesn't mean you can never order takeout again. It just means you should know what you're really spending.
And here's another mental trap, the Diderot effect. You know how this goes. You buy a beautiful new couch, and then suddenly, your old rug looks kind of sad next to it, so you get a new rug. But now the coffee table doesn't match, and on it goes. One single purchase sets off this chain reaction of spending, and it's how people accidentally upgrade their entire lives into a financial hole.
So how do you fight back against these very human impulses? Not with brute force willpower. You use a system. You create friction. Try this, the 72-hour firewall. For any non-essential thing that costs more than, say, $50, you just force yourself to wait 3 days. That's it. You will be absolutely amazed at how many "I need this right now" items you completely forget about by day 3. You're basically hacking your own brain's need for that instant gratification.
And this all comes together in your automated system. This is what it looks like in practice. You pay yourself first, automatically, the second your paycheck hits. Your emergency fund, it's in a totally separate bank, so it's a pain to get to. And here's the key to killing lifestyle creep. You automatically invest most of every single raise you get from now on. The people who win at this aren't more disciplined, I promise. They just built smarter systems.
So once you have these rules and systems in place,
You get to unleash the engine that does all the real work for you. And that is the beautiful, unstoppable force of compounding. Now, I have to warn you, for the first 5, maybe even 10 years, compounding feels broken. It feels like nothing is happening, and it's easy to think you've been sold a lie. But that slow start isn't a bug in the system. It's a feature. Wealth isn't a straight line up. It's an exponential curve. It's a hockey stick.
Just look at this curve. Your 10 grand turns into about $26,000 after a decade. So it took 10 years to make $16,000. Okay, but now look at the last 10 years, from year 30 to year 40. In that single decade, your money grows by more than $278,000. That's where the magic happens. The people who get rich are the ones who have the patience to stick around long enough to see the steep part of that curve.
Which brings us to probably the most important rule of all, from the legendary Charlie Munger. The real secret to all of this isn't picking the perfect stock or timing the market. It's just starting, automating the process, and then leaving it alone. You just have to let the machine run. Never, ever interrupt it.
So after you've built the system and let the engine run, what's the destination? What does being financially free actually feel like? Because I can tell you, it doesn't look like what you see on social media.
The best way, the most honest way to measure your financial health isn't your income. It isn't even your net worth. It's this, your freedom horizon. Ask yourself, how many months could I live my exact same life if my income stopped cold tomorrow? For Marcus, that number is maybe a week or 2. For Dana, it's 6 months. That gap is the whole story.
Because this is what it all leads to. Real financial freedom isn't about buying a yacht, it's about what you don't have. It's the silence in your head where that constant low-grade money stress used to be. It's when your water heater breaks and it's just an annoying inconvenience, not a full-blown catastrophe. It's about having options. It's about owning your time.
So, we end where we started, with Marcus and Dana. Look, Marcus isn't a bad guy. He's just playing by the wrong rules. He'll probably listen to this, feel motivated for a day, and then change nothing. Dana, on the other hand, she already put in the work, and now she lives with a sense of peace he can't even imagine. So the only question that matters now is, which one are you going to be?